But we're going to start with the New York Knicks. And really, you can call in, you could argue, you can say whatever you like. But what Joel Embiid did to Mitchell Robinson was a flagrant 2. And if it was most any other player in the NBA, it would have been a flagrant 2, and they would have been thrown out of the game. But there was no way they were ever going to make it a flagrant 2. They made it a flagrant 1, because if they made it a flagrant 2, the series is over. It was a must-win for the Sixers. They can't go down 3-0 and expect to come back. So at least with Embiid, you have a game that's going to be watched and consumed. There was no way they were throwing him out. But Don, Peter, if Mitchell Robinson did that to Embiid, he would have been thrown out immediately. If it was a regular season game, Embiid would have been thrown out immediately. It was a clear, flagrant 2, and I'm not saying that anybody's in the bag for anybody, but that's one of the big stars in the NBA, the reigning MVP. They were not throwing him out.
No, they're not. Now, should they? I mean, should everything be equal? Game 1 of an NBA regular season should be the same as a playoff game, that the 15th guy off the bench should be the same as a superstar? I guess in a perfect world, Michael. But you tell me the sport where that would have happened. Somebody that can actually decide a series would get thrown out.
I don't know, but I will tell you this. It was a really dirty play.
Of course,
I mean, the guy was in the air. He grabbed his legs. He could have really hurt him, and then he ends up getting hurt anyway. Yeah. And the Sixers came out very aggressive previously, and he wasn't even called for a flagrant on this. He need Isaiah Hartenstein and the Jewels, no call. Kyle Lowry smacked DiVincenzo in the face. That was a flagrant 1. That should not have been a flagrant 2. But what Embiid did was a flagrant 2. And if you're a Sixer fan and you don't agree with that, then you're looking at the world through Sixer glasses.
I really like Joel Embiid. He seems like an excellent dude off the court. Like, whenever you hear him talk, he's entertaining. He's a phenomenal player. I mean, we can't bury the fact that he dropped a 50 spot after he said his team would win the series, right? He's a beast. He's the dirtiest player in the NBA. I mean, that yesterday, I'm sorry, we can talk about Draymond Green till we want. Yesterday, that leg grab was as dirty and dangerous a play as I remember seeing in this league. And whether they gave him the flagrant 2 or not, and they're never going to do this, but if they were doing the right thing, guys, they would review it after the game. He wouldn't be playing in Game 4. It was football. That was not basketball. And I'm sorry, I expected makeup calls, but guys, I didn't expect something like that to be okay.
I did expect that it was going to be lopsided the way it was. I mean, the Knicks had 19 free throws. Joel Embiid had 21.
Yeah, you knew that.
So you knew they were going to even it out, especially with the 2-minute report and things like that. And they knew that they lost a game for them. So it was going to be slanted in their favor. But still, that thing does just stand out and say, wow, how did he get away with that? How did he get away with that?
Because he's a star.
Right.
You said, Michael, it comes down to the bottom line. If the series is over, they don't want it to be over. And listen, we'll get calls from Knicks fans that the league hates the Knicks. In this particular situation, they want every series to go 7. These are 2 big markets. They want to try to get as much television value, as many big games as they can. And they know that if they had kicked Embiid out of that game, then the Sixers are probably getting swept. They lose 3 quality games for TV. They want these things to go long, and so it stinks. That's not the way it's supposed to be. All these leagues talk about that every game is the same. It's all officiated the same. That's such bull. Because if he was nobody, he gets kicked out of that game and gets suspended. If the series is 3-0 last night, maybe there's a chance that Embiid would get suspended because the series looks like it's over anyway. But in a game in which Philadelphia's got a chance to make it 2-1, with a home game coming up in Game 4, they're thinking, what's the biggest bang for the buck? What's best for the league? And what's best for the league is if Embiid continues to play.
And also, just take away what was clearly a flagrant 2. I want the person to call in that disagrees with that. Even if you're from Philly, I'd like to really pick it apart with you, because I don't understand how I mean, it's something where you could severely injure a player and was unnecessary. He was on the ground. He was not defending the play. He was on the ground. He was trying to hurt him. Now, he said it's because of the fact, Jonathan Kuminga in a similar situation fell down and hurt his knee. Oh, okay. So that means you have to hurt Mitchell Robinson. Also, the way the game was officiated, Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein have done a good job. They both had 3 fouls in an eye blink. To the point where Precious Achiuwa had to come in. Now, I don't have a problem with Precious Achiuwa coming in, but for the first 2 games of the series, Tibbs was playing with an 8-man team. All of a sudden, the 9th guy comes in, and I think he's going to have to play again because it looks like Mitchell Robinson re-injured his ankle, the one that was surgically repaired. So, yeah, it was not a great day for the Knicks. The best thing was that Jalen Brunson played well. He contested shots, the whole deal. But if we really want to be honest with each other, I know, okay, so negative, those phone calls are going to come. You can make the argument the Sixers should be up 2-1. You can make the argument the Sixers could be up 3-0. Now, I think the Knicks won the first game fair and square. Second one, they didn't. They missed those calls. The Sixers should have won the game. So the Sixers have essentially for 3 games outplayed the Knicks. Knicks now they have to counter on Sunday. Let's see what they do.
Well, would you go as far as to say they outplayed them in game 1?
No, I think the Knicks outplayed them. I think the Knicks should win game 1. But, I mean, you could see a couple of things here or there. But then you could also say, well, Brunson, if he has a Brunson game, it wouldn't have been close. But I think he didn't have a Brunson game because the Sixers played him well.
Now, we argued yesterday about Peter and I aren't swayed by what happened in the first 2 games. I'm not even swayed by what happened last night. Last night was very predictable. First home game for Philadelphia. You knew because of the way that the officiating went in the end of the game, game 2, that it was going to be a really difficult time, which drives you crazy too. But we all predicted that. So you know that the officials have make-up calls all the time. Clearly, everyone knew the game was going to be officiated that way based on what happened with the 2-minute report in game 2. But I still think they can win this series. I still think that they're the better team. Philadelphia was bound to respond. It still took a 50-point effort from Embiid. And, so the game wasn't really that close. But still, it wasn't like they were completely blown out of the building either. I could see the Knicks totally regrouping and still come back to New York on Tuesday with a 3-1 series lead. I'm not going to change my opinion based on what happened last night. I think the only thing that was proven wrong so far through the first 3 games is that the Knicks were going to win this in a walkover. Like anybody that thought, we're going to sweep Philadelphia, this is going to be easy, I think we're proving it's not going to be easy. But I still think the Knicks are in good shape.
Well, game 4 looms very, very large. Because if the Sixers win game 4, all of a sudden it's 2-2 and it's a best of 3. And it's a best of 3 and the best player on the court is the guy on the Sixers. So you get nervous about things like that. Now, 2 of those games would be at the Garden. I understand that. But it does become a best of 3 and anything can happen. So I think the Knicks could feel better about life if they won on Sunday. They could breathe a little bit and move on from there. If they lose, then it's a dogfight. It could be 7. Peter could end up being right. It could be a 7-game set.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm not going to lie, I felt the same thing Michael felt last night about, wow, are we lucky that this series is 2-1 in the first place? Because it could very easily be the other way, if not worse. But I don't know. I feel like the energy that I have coming out today is less about the disappointment of their play, in spite of the fact that Jalen Brunson was much better, though the fourth quarter left a lot to be desired, and sort of more from the mindset of, if you're the Knicks right now, don't you feel like you really have your back up against the wall?
Yes.
I mean, you're now 2-1 playing game 4, and I'm sorry, you got to be looking at it as you're up against the axis of evil, which is these dirty-ass Sixers players, horrible referees, the whining Philly fan base. I really hope that this team looks within and can dig deep in game 4, because this will become a really scary series. And beyond that, guys, the New York Knicks cannot be the New York Mets in game 4. And Don, you of all people should know what I'm talking about. They need to make a physical statement in game 4. I'm sorry. You have those extra bodies on the bench that Tibbs never plays. Someone needs to a nice, good, intentional, accidental slap across Embiid's face needs to happen in game 4. You cannot allow, I don't care whether he's an MVP or not. I'm not saying you go for the guy's knees and try to end his season, but guys, you don't hit him with a hard Pistons foul where he can, sort of similar to what happened to DiVincenzo yesterday. You could argue he got completely punched in the face by Lowry.
Yeah.
So someone needs to get racked across the face in the first 5 minutes on Sunday to show them that they're not going to roll over against this team.
But I think if that happens, then that person's going to get thrown out. It better not be a star Knick player.
No, we have bodies for that, because think about it. Tibbs only likes to play 8 guys.
Right.
You bring in a 9th guy and you lose them.
Yeah, there's somebody on the bench that's got 5 fouls to give.
That's right. Use them. You got to use them. You got to make a statement. You cannot allow them to push you around like that. I'm sorry. He grabbed him intentionally in broad daylight and then dropped 50 on your head. You have to stand up. And, I mean, listen, it can only be so much from the effort of basketball you put in. That, of course, you need. But you need a physical thing, too. I'm sorry. The Sixers play like it's, at times, they play like it's an 80s, 90s brand of basketball. You can't retort with 2024 basketball.
And
you're going to have to play
They
something.
complain every call, especially Embiid. Every single call.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
You're sitting here giving people, ball shots and grabbing people's legs and also complaining. It's a lot.
But, we talk about the lack of respect the Knicks get around the nation outside of New York. This is where it rears its ugly head. Forget about how the media feels about them, how Shaq and Barkley feel about them. With the lack of respect is they've got a player who should be getting calls. They've got a player who's a superstar, but I don't know if the league judges it that way. I mean, it's a league full of stars getting breaks. When are the Knicks going to start getting breaks? They're a great team. They're a 2 seed. They've got star players, but because nobody ever looks at their players as true stars, they don't catch breaks like this.
Let's listen to Jay Williams, our very own Jay Williams on Get Up, about the Embiid grab of the legs of Mitchell Robinson.
That's not being physical, though. There's one thing about being physical and cracking into somebody when they're not looking for a rebound, right? Or giving somebody an elbow or a push-off. To me, it's just a flat-out dirty play. I mean, that's a play that deserves to be ejected. I mean, the thing that Mitchell Robinson is mid-air here where he yanks that like he's about to jump. Like, that could have torn an ACL. That could have torn, some kind of ligament. That's a very dirty play. And I thought he deserved to be ejected for that. That should have been a flagrant 2.
Now, here's Nick Nurse, the coach of the Sixers, talking about that play.
A flagrant at the beginning. I mean, were you a little worried that it could have been like a flagrant 2? Where did it ever cross your mind at all?
I didn't even look at it. Sorry. I didn't see it. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
really, Nick?
It happens in hockey all the time. I understand a coach has to show support to his players, but are you really going to tell me you didn't see it?
Then you're not doing a good job as a coach.
Yeah,
you didn't see a play like that?
Because you know what you should be doing is you should be making sure, hey, Joel, you got away with it, but clean it up because the next time you might get kicked out of the game, and now we're dead. But is that even going to be the case? Who the heck knows? I mean, so I'm with Peter. You got to hockey it up. And you know what? You throw a Jericho Sims out of here. You got 5 fouls to give, buddy. Go out and get it. You're not going to play anyway. How many minutes you're going to get? There's guys out there. Hey, let's be physical. Let's do it. And you get kicked out of the game. So what? You weren't somebody who was going to play anyway. I'm not saying you got to go beat somebody down, but you got to push back. If the league's not going to have your back, you got to take matters into your own hands here. Now you got to be careful because you don't want to parade to the foul line. But at the same time, I'm with Peter. You've got to be able to show a little backbone here. You can't whine. You can't point fingers. You can't expect the league or the officials to help you out here. Sometimes you got to take matters into your own hands.
They're not going to help you out, and you know for a fact that this Philly team is going to be bitching and moaning the entire game, no matter what you do. Even if you play the Michael, give me a good example of like a nuns basketball team. You get the idea. Yeah, like not the Little Sisters of the Poor, but you get the idea. You could be a perfect team. They're still going to complain the entire game. You got to get after it early because no matter what you do, they're going to cry either way. You might as well make them cry. And you got bodies to do it.
Here's the part of the narrative I don't understand, and I don't co-sign on. The league doesn't want the Knicks to win. Well, in what universe does the league not want a New York team to win? In what universe would they not want the Knicks to be in the NBA Finals? When they're negotiating television contracts, when it would get the biggest ratings of any team coming out of the East.
People confuse bad. It's like everything in this country, Michael. It always has to be a conspiracy that's deeper. People confuse just terrible refereeing with an all-out conspiracy. The league is based in New York. Everything is based. It would be incredible business for the Knicks to win the whole thing. It's just the ref. Guys, this isn't the only series. You've heard what LeBron James is saying. There's been bad refereeing throughout the playoffs so far.
No, it's true. But here's the one thing that I kind of disagree, and I don't believe there's conspiracy theories either, because I'm with Michael. If they got a Laker-Knick championship every year, they'd be thrilled. 2 of the biggest television markets in the country. Believe me, they'd love to see that. But I'm just wondering if the officials in the pace of games have any respect for the players the Knicks have.
That might be a good point, Don, because they're not big big-time stars.
Yeah. See, it's not that we don't want the Knicks to win. They want the market, but the Knicks are disrespected. They don't have a LeBron James. They don't have an Embiid. They don't have a Jokic. At least in the eyes of these officials in the league that should be getting calls.
Tibbs has been arguing
Brunson
this.
Should be getting calls.
He's been arguing it the whole time. Brunson does not get the calls of an elite player, and he's an elite player.
But unfortunately, outside of New York, does anybody think of him that way?
Unfortunately, you know what? The officials who watch him play every day should think they should be smarter.
Well, they should. They should. But this is a league, you know, Peter, better than anybody. It's not driven by markets. It's driven by stars. So they don't want the Knicks. They want the Knicks to win. But the way the Knicks are constructed, I don't think they have the stars to make it happen.
Did you see this stat, Peter? Joel Embiid has more flagrant fouls than Draymond Green in 481 fewer games.
Wow.
And we think we
right.
look at Draymond Green, and by the way, he was defending Embiid, so go surprise. We look at Embiid we look at Draymond as a dirty player. Embiid's a dirty player. He kicked Hartenstein in the jewels, and then he tried to injure Mitchell Robinson. It's awful. It was an awful look.
But what makes it strange, though, is that Draymond's not the player Embiid is. So it's the combination of you're going to get star treatment and take advantage of it. Like if Draymond did that last night, he probably does get a 2, does get kicked out, and does get suspended. We've seen that. It changed the series against Cleveland. But he's not that level.
The leg grab would have absolutely done Draymond in at this point, and the reputation alone. You're right, Don. It's because I just tweeted this, and it's so true. He's the dirtiest player in the game. He just happens to be one of the best players in the game.
So that makes it a deadly combination because he's going to get away with a lot more.
So much emphasis now on Game 4. So important. I mean, I'm not saying it's a must-win for the Knicks. It's pretty damn important.
And also, I got to say let me be hard on the Knicks fans for a second. I know I'm waving the Knicks flags right now, and this will probably get them to throw things at me instead, but it needs to be pointed out.
All right.
Brunson was much better yesterday, obviously. 39 points. What do you have, 12, 13 assists? He was awesome last night. But I have to be real with you. He's the guy. He was not good down the stretch of that game. He had one field goal in the fourth quarter. And Michael, down the stretch when they cut it to 7, he had critical turnovers when they had a chance.
Yep.
So I love that he gave you 39 points. But remember, he's not getting, this isn't the old Jalen Brunson bar of comparing him to 3 years ago Jalen Brunson. He is a superstar. He is their dude. And last night, as good as he was, the money is made for superstars in the fourth quarter of playoff games, and we need more from him in the fourth quarter of a playoff game.
And, you know, the equation that we've always had for teams that are going to win championships is they have to have 2 legitimate stars, right? Now, I have come around on this. Jalen Brunson is a legitimate star. Who's the second legitimate star on the Knicks? They don't have it. The rest of the team is built on guts and guile and grittiness. How many teams like that win? That's why it makes me laugh when people say, are the Knicks better without Julius Randle? No. Julius Randle would be that second star. No matter what you think of Julius Randle, what level star he is, he's a star. 25 and 10 is missed.
Now, on any given night, there could be somebody that can play like a star.
Right, but it's not a consistent thing.
But getting back to the original point, there isn't anybody that's going to get the benefit of the doubt. There isn't anybody that's going to get the call because they're not looked upon as a star. So everything that's great about the Knicks is what I hate about the NBA, and it's going to end up coming back to bite the Knicks because this sport honors its superstars. It honors load management. And all the things that we hate, guys, about the NBA, that's the way to do it because now we're starting to see the lack of that star is going to hurt them. The not getting respect is going to hurt them. It drives them. But in the ins and outs of a game like last night, they shouldn't be disrespected like that. They're the better team. They're the higher seed. But does the world look at it that way?
Well, forget about the world. If the guys in the the officials' uniforms don't, that's the biggest problem. And you could say, well, I'm sure there were some teams that gritted their way to championships. And you think about the Bad Boys. Bad Boys had stars, man. There were great players on that team. So tell me another team that with just one star gritted its way to a championship. It doesn't happen. So the Knicks, while they're inspiring and they could beat anybody, in any series. Are they that great that they're going to overcome odds like officials not giving them respect?
See that, but that's what drives you crazy, right? Because if everything's fair, it should be. It should be enough. It shouldn't be because, well, you're not going to get the calls unless you have extra stars. You're not going to get the respect. That's not the way sports is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a popularity contest.
Yeah, but I think that
you should.
I think that officials see things almost in a nuanced way. I don't think they're purposely doing that. They look at the Knicks and they don't see Jordan. They don't see LeBron. They don't see Steph. They see, okay, overtly to not call things for the Knicks. They just don't look at the Knicks in that way, and that's not right.
But if you're a good basketball official and you've got blinders on, you can't be impressed by the way they play the game. And it's a competitive game. A foul's a foul, right? A flagrant foul's a flagrant foul. You shouldn't be motivated by who's got the ball. And I know it's human nature that Michael Irvin was able to push off. And Wade Boggs always got the benefit of the outside corner. Or Greg Maddux, when he was pitching, got the benefit of the outside corner. In little moments. But going in to a series, you should not be at a disadvantage because you're being disrespected around the league. And it feels like in the NBA, that's by design. Give the stars the break. And in this sport, it's hard to overcome that.
Now, just to tie things up with what I thought should have been a flagrant 2, and I think Don and Peter do as well, don't just blame the officials. Because they said when they spoke to the pool reporter, Secaucus agreed. So somebody from the NBA was in the room and Secaucus said, you can't throw out Embiid.
Can't.
You can't. So the Knicks were victimized by the fact that a crime was committed by a really famous person, and the courts let him get away with it. Because there's no other, any Sixer fan out there within the sound of her voice. I want you to defend that wasn't a flagrant 2.
What I got to understand is they all looked at it. They said everyone was in agreement.
Right, even Secaucus.
Everyone in Secaucus and the referees all thought it was a 1. None of you said that looks like a 2 to me?
No. And you know why?
They know they can't. They can't throw him out.
Because they're gutless pukes.
Because that's what they agreed upon, Peter. We can't kick Embiid out of the game.
Right.
It wasn't a question of whether it was a 2. What keeps him in the game, that's what we're going to vote for. It shouldn't be that way.